All right. Let's see.
Thank you for doing that.
Yeah, no problem. All right, we'll just wait for some people to join and then we can get started. So what are you working on these days?
These days, I've been doing Vue.js, moves from doing React to Vue, working with NashJS, still within the JavaScript ecosystem, just different tools. Doing migrating to using Terraform from AWS, kind of like click on the UI. So that's been fun with infrastructure as code. But yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, and then just a lot of trying to figure out the best way to improve my developer flow within the editor and then the terminal. So that's always like an ongoing project. It's been awesome. It's been fun. Yeah.
Very cool. I haven't had a chance to work with Vue yet, but yeah, mostly just been doing React development for the past many years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's still king in the industry. King of the hill, you say.
Yeah.
Vue is cool. I still have that kind of like expertise bias of things that I like about React, but the more I get familiar with Vue, I think I'll have more like a balanced opinion about both.
Is it the company that you went to? They the stuff that they built, it was already using Vue. That's why you're using it now.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Gotcha.
Yeah. All our applications are Vue. Next, which is kind of like the NextJS of the Vue ecosystem.
Right.
Yeah, I've been
Cool.
liking it a lot. You know, TypeScript, all kind of called the utility tools of the JavaScript ecosystem that have blew up. It's like everywhere you go, you see TypeScript now.
Yeah.
Yeah. A couple of years ago, it was kind of cool to say, "Oh, I write TypeScript." Now it's like, "Oh, everyone does it."
It's pretty ubiquitous. Yeah.
Which is nice. All right. Looks like. And then I'll go through questions at the end too, kind of like answering any questions from the chat. That might be helpful.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Still waiting for some people to join.
Mm-hmm. Should I get started?
Yeah, just give it one.
Okay.
Few more minutes.
Mm-hmm.
All right, well, I guess we can go ahead and start, just in the interest of time. So I'll introduce myself first. So my name is Daniel Catone. I'm a software engineer at Asurion. I'm not normally the host for NashJS. Will couldn't make it sadly tonight, but I am going to be helping out more frequently with NashJS, so you'll see a lot more of me. But I did want to quickly plug our meetup group. If you have any topics that you'd like to present on, you can visit our meetup group, and there's a Google form to submit your topics, and we'll get back to you. So if you're interested in presenting, please make sure you do that. Tonight, our topic is VIM for JavaScript development, and our speaker for tonight is Wes Braga. I'll let Wes introduce himself, but I do know Wes. We used to be colleagues at Asurion, and I've met him several times over the past few years while he's been getting into software engineering. So I'm really looking forward to this presentation. I guess Wes, I'll let you take it away.
Thank you, Daniel. Hey everyone, welcome to this talk. I'm really excited and quite an honor to be doing this, especially sharing a topic that I'm very passionate about at a channel that I watched quite a lot to learn what's out there in the JavaScript ecosystem or in our Nashville developer community. So let's get started. I'll introduce myself as we go. I'm Wes Braga, like I said. This is my GitHub. I'm a Christ follower. I serve at a church down in Columbia, living in the south side of Nashville, out in the Spring Hill area. I'm a senior software engineer, currently working at Bambi. I've been honored to work at Asurion as well, where I worked with Daniel and Exelis, also a Nashville-based company. All these places, very grateful for the opportunity that they've all given me to provide value and be the engineer that I am today. So big shout out to all those three. I am a husband and a father of almost two. Got a baby coming on the way next month, so that's exciting. And I'm a musician. Before moving to development, I was a touring musician, which is how I ended up in Nashville, doing just work as a hired gun, playing guitar, playing bass, recording sessions and whatnot. So, all right, so let's get to this talk. I will warn everyone that don't take everything that I'm about to say as a golden hammer. A lot of these thoughts and a lot of this talk came from this idea that I wanted to gather everything that I've been doing for a year that changed my developer flow, that changed the way I develop and work for the better. So I want to share these things. These are my opinions based on my preference and experience. So yeah, take it the way that you want to take it, All right, so I'm going to preface with the biggest project that all of us as developers work is truly our file system, is our machines, our working machines. You have projects upon projects, you have notes that you keep, you have images, assets, spreadsheets, CSV files, all that, like it's all in your file system. And navigating that can be not so organized and not so ideal. As you can see in this picture, I mean, this is kind of like an exaggeration. I've never had my desktop like that, but that gives me a little bit of anxiety seeing it. But yeah, that's what it feels like to work with a big file system. It feels, chaotic, and you're like moving around trying to find things, kind of like reading line by line and clicking. So my solution to that, that I found that was very efficient, is the Unix Shell. I started learning the Unix Shell early on in my career, doing Git, and that was it. That was my introduction to the terminal, was all the basic Git commands that you do in your developer life. So I took upon myself to really learn it, learn other tools, and learn other ways to make myself more efficient. And the reason for it is I noticed that, the Unix shell is lightweight. It probably takes not even a couple megs of my computer, depending how many processes I'm running. It is lightweight and gets the job done, and I love that. Portable knowledge, the Unix shell, you can take this to most computers in the world are running Linux, most servers, right? You can run Linux on Windows these days now. So you can run, the shell on the Mac OS is Unix based. And then if you develop on Linux, this is home for you, right? So it is portable knowledge. And the reason why I love that is because I learn it once, carry it along the years. I know developers that have mentored me, and they know the shell and command line really well, and they've been doing this for like 10 plus years, and they still use those commands. The classic grep, sed, and find, those are still widely used. So it's portable knowledge, and it's configurable. I can have a repository on GitHub, private or public, and I can pull it down and have my shell configured the way I like. I can slap some aliases there, scripts that might help, and I do that. And that has helped me setting up a new machine a lot, because I don't have to think too much about what do I like. I just have it there, pull it down, and configure. So I can do that using the Unix shell. When I was using a lot of GUI tools, I couldn't find a good way to do it. There's always those like import, export, config files, and then you save. Yeah, I guess you could push it or pull it down and then import it with some tools. But yeah, it just doesn't feel 100%. So, and you might ask, what's wrong with IDEs, Wes? Do you have anything against IDEs? I don't have anything against IDEs. As a matter of fact, I still use VS Code every now and then. I couldn't figure out a good way to debug, to use the debugger within Vim. So I'll preface that. I might use the VS Code debugger every now and then, but I usually rely on the browser. There's a nice set of dev tools that have debugging abilities there, so I use that. But yeah, I don't hate IDEs. I just do 99% of my flow within Vim because I like it. It's fast. I get it done, and makes me happy. So what is really wrong? Well, my personal experience, they are slow. You open up VS Code, there's 200 megs of memory being consumed. Then you slap on top of that, and then zoom, and then 68 plus tabs, and photos. What else? You might have Photoshop open, Illustrator, and then there you go. More memory, right? That's a solution for a lot of tech issues. Let's slap more memory. Let's do it. No, that was just not doable for me. Like there's got to be a better way, right? So yeah, and we've all experienced that. I've worked with Visual Studio in .NET, and you open Visual Studio and it takes minutes. And I had a good computer at the time. 32 gigs of memory is pretty good, right? But yeah, it was just not cutting it for me. So why Vim? Why I say, hey, Vim is the best. Vim can do this. Vim is fast. Well, the simple purpose of Vim is to be an efficient text editor. it was made for programming efficiency. And I'm going to show you some of the basics as we walk through. You're going to get to know that it was really thought out as if, you know, Vim is a text editor for programmers, and programmers and Vim line up very well because we want to be able to have full control over a text editing experience, right? Number two, the core idea has been around since the late 70s. You know, it started out as VI, and then Vim came along as an improved version of VI. And then we have other distributions and forks of Vim, which I personally use NeoVim. Great support, great community support, and just, you know, great folks out there helping each other out, you know, helping everyone out improve the flow. So I use NeoVim. Like I said, a huge community. It is lightweight, just like the terminal. It's very lightweight. I can run my whole editing experience for under 5 megabytes, which is great. You know, I usually work in large enterprise projects, and within those large enterprise projects, you open up your IDE. It can take a while. It can take a while for the language server to load up. You know, we've all experienced the classic, like open a TypeScript project that is in a mono repo, and it takes a while. Now, as soon as it's open, you don't turn off your computer, you're good, right? It's already there, ready to work on. But it is slow still. It is portable. I can grab my Vim config and I can run it on a Docker container. I can run it on a Linux distribution. If I get a new Mac or a new computer or Windows, or with Windows subsystem for Linux, I can pull it down. I can have the same editing experience. My key bindings won't change because I have them already pre-configured. Extensions that I might have loved to use, they're there. You know, I don't have to change too much, and that decreases overhead whenever I have to like set up a new environment. And developing the terminal, Vim has probably the best integration with the terminal. I know a lot of IDEs and text editors, they have that support out the box, but it's just not as good, and you will see why. I'll show you that. Home roll and rock and roll. So if you've ever taken a typing class in high school, I personally did, and that was the thing that I remember was this image, kind of like positioning your hands at a certain way that every key stroke is just very close to your fingers and you can fly on that thing. That was my takeaway. I didn't take it quite seriously in high school, but when I was in my code bootcamp days, I really took it upon their heart. Hey, I have to learn how to be efficient with my hands, how to be efficient on the keyboard. So I did practice a little bit. And that came from discipline, from playing music and learning guitar, bass. So, you know, I want to be efficient with the tools that I use. So I took that model throughout my whole career, and I still do. But I like my mouse. I do like my mouse. I still use a mouse. My mouse is right here. It's not the typical, oh, you use Vim, you don't use the mouse. No, we're not here to gatekeep anything. We're here to introduce tools that to improve your workflow, and you know, they're just additions, right? So I still use my mouse. It's great. The mouse is great. On the contrary, like any tool out there, right, there's always cons about using, you know, anything. So I'm gonna go ahead and say what I found over a year of doing Vim so far. There's a steep learning curve. It was interesting thinking about doing this talk because I was like, wow, Vim, I'm not gonna lie, it is hard to learn, but I'm gonna try my best to make it as an easier approach to learning it and incrementally learning it. And that was the way I did. You know, at the time I was using VS Code and Visual Studio. So I downloaded their extension for VIM bindings and I integrated that slowly throughout my work. You know, I would learn 2-3 VIM commands over the week and I would try to implement them. And they actually gave me a lot of gains every week because I would become better with the first commands and then move on to the second commands. So I learned the basics of VIM in a total of 4 weeks, just doing this, just learning incrementally and, trying to implement it slowly. Configuration fatigue. If, you're a person, you like things out of the box, this might not be the tool for you, but it does require configuration. It does require kind of like the eagerness to understand what's going on and set it up for you. But yeah, there are tools, and I'll share that towards the end. There are distributions out there that are pre-made and pre-configured, so you can pull it down and mess around with that. That's also a good way to go. I personally recommend folks to just dive in and try to configure your own VimRC and learn as you go. So we'll go through it. Plugin ecosystem can be overwhelming. You can say about pretty much any ecosystem that's dependency driven, it's gonna be like that. Talk about the node modules and the NPM ecosystem. There's a lot out there because people are creating a lot of cool things, right? So it can be a little overwhelming, but as soon as you find the tools that work for you, you can just keep them, and their version, they're gonna work. If you have a stable version, it's gonna pull the stable version. But I'm an engineer and I like these things. Like, I like configuring things. I like building things. I like understanding how things work. And I like also understanding why it doesn't work. And sometimes I just feel like I don't understand how it works or it doesn't work. But, that's what it feels like. All right, let's dive right into it. We're going to do it live. So bear with me. I wrote a couple notes to kind of like follow it, help me out with this, but let's do it. I'll walk from the basics and kind of like show you what I have as my current flow using Vim. Why do I use it? What are the great things that I love about it? Yeah, so let's hop into it. This is my terminal. I have here, I am on my dev directory. And let me pull up the chat just so I can see. There you go. Someone said go neo Vim, Visual Studio. There you go. Yeah. So in a terminal right now, why I love the terminal. I can type this and I can list all my files. I can move on to repositories really quick. I can fuzzy find through my repositories. If I want to find a file, I can go, I have an alias that will go into my dev directory and list all my directories. And I use this kind of flow throughout my day-to-day at work. I have multiple projects that I work on. So I want to be able to just jump to it, man, from anywhere on my machine, any directory in my machine. I want to jump to, for example, my blog. And I'll show you guys what tools I'm using to kind of like build this. But this is the reason why I love the terminal. It's quick, efficient, it's lightweight, right? But let's talk about Vim. Why Vim? What does Vim look like when you first come in and you're like, man, I'm going to learn Vim. Let's do this. All right. So I'm going to do Vim. And Vim is installed in a lot of Unix based systems out of the box. Some more bare bones, like Alpine Linux, you might have to install it. But for example, Ubuntu, you'll find it there. There's VI, its precursor is already installed as well. So let's just check it out what you can find. Let's say the classic USSH into a box and you want to add some files real quick. You want to add your environment variables or like configuration files. That's usually what like most folks use Vim. And I found throughout the day. And that's also how I got started. It's kind of like doing like simple things with it. But yeah, so I'm gonna paste this command here. Whoops, there you go. And this is gonna stand up a container with the Ubuntu, and we're just gonna check out what's available, So right here, I'm in the container. If I do vi dot, it is not installed. Let's see. Let's install Vim. Oh, you gotta update. There you go. Classic Ubuntu, man. All right. Okay. To install Vim. Oh yeah, someone said FCF. There you go. There we go. Vim is installed. This is Vim's file explorer. I just did Vim dot. And out of the box, Vim has a file explorer. It's great. It's fast. Gets the job done. I love it. But let's create a file, with Vim. So you would say Vim and then the file name. If you say dude.js, it creates a file, like you're in a new file. However, it's a little bit misleading because typical text editors, when you create a file, the file is written to disk already, and then you're ready to edit, and then you save. Within Vim, there is this concept of buffers. And buffers are really cool because it's a temporary space in the memory of your computer that Vim creates before it even writes to your disk. And reasons for that is for optimizations in your system. And it will only write to your disk when you choose to write to it. So when you come in a Vim file, you don't get much out of the box, like syntax highlighting, auto completion, all that stuff. And I'm going to show you guys what after configuring it will look like. But out of the box, it's just kind of like this. You have create an object. Dude, it's kind of weird to do this without all the completion and then auto pairs and all that you get from an IDE flow. But out of the box, this is what it looks like. It's very bare bones, right? But yeah, and then you come in here and you press colon. You'll see whenever you hop on a Vim session, it feels strange because Vim has this notion of modes. And modes are kind of like, where are you intending to perform in editing, right? So there is normal mode, which is where you start. And in Vim, the keys that you navigate are H, J, K, and L. Right on the home row. So if you're on home row position, you're going to have your H with your index finger, just a little hop here. And then you're going to have your J and then K, your middle finger, ring finger. I need to think about this. L. And then your pinky would be the colon. So I'm moving up and down, and then if I want to move sideways, you go L, 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 or H, 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 H. Now, there are much more efficient ways to move. These are kind of just the basics, so bear with me. I'll walk through a lot of what makes it so fast. So there you go. If you want to quit Vim, the classic, when you know Vim is when you know how to quit, right? So quitting Vim, it's like the classic joke. So what you're going to do, you're going to say colon Q. That's going to quit the buffer. Now, Vim is going to yell at you because you have not decided to either write to the file. So if you want to just quit and erase the buffer, so you just, you don't shoot yourself in the foot. Let's say you have a buffer open and you have a couple notes made and, you want to save it, but you forgot about it. Vim is pretty generous out of the box to tell you, hey, no write since last change. You can add this bang sign to override it. So we're going to do that. So Q, bang sign. And there you go. I'm back at my shell within the container. This is not my host right now. This is within an Ubuntu container. So if I do, let's create a file. Let's do test.js. Let's do that. So we're going to create a file. There's a function, test. And all this function is going to do is console log. Whoops. Your test passed. There you go. All right. So now, if I want to save a file within Vim, what you're going to do, you're going to say colon, which goes into what's called command mode in Vim, colon. So shift, colon, and then W for write. So just to remember, Q for quit, write, W for write. And then you press enter. There you go. Test.js has been written. If I quit, and I do an ls here, I'm gonna see test.js right there. Pretty cool. Feels a little bit hackery, right? You know, we're inside a black box and we're editing things using just what this black box says, but it gets better. So let's quit out of this. Exit. Oops. There you go. So right now I'm in my host. I'm back to my configuration. So I'm gonna walk you guys through some basic movements within what I do daily. And you'll get to see what my VIM workflow looks like. So let's go through better movements. So it's important to know how to move in VIM. These are kind of like the basics. I'll paste the link in the chat because you can also follow here. I wrote a little cheat sheet for you to follow along with, kind of like the basic commands that can help you too. So there you go. Yeah, it's in the chat. It might be a little bit outdated, but I will update at the end of the talk. But yeah, so let's go through some basics. So I'm here in my dev environment. Let me go to a big file. Let me think about this. I'll go to my blog, and then, whoa, what was that? Well, this is an alias that I built using a tool called FCF that allows me to kind of like fuzzy find through directors, and it's really helpful. Now, how does that tie within VIM? Well, I can pipe commands using the terminal. So since VIM has its own sort of binary that I can use to open files, when I do FA, I'll show you guys what I'm doing. Right here. Well, I gotta go to that script. cf.vim. No, that's not it. Here we go. Okay, I'm pretty sure this is what I'm doing. And these are kind of like scripts that I built to do some error checking, but the core of it, of the alias, is this. Oops, not that. FD, FCF, and then VIM. So I'm FD is just a port of ls to just list files. It's more efficient. And then I'm piping to FCF, which is a fuzzy finder, and then VIM. And you can create aliases that will help you do that, so you don't have to type that every time. So that's what I do. And those are already ergonomic to my fingers. I don't think, I just do it. But yeah, so there you go. I can go into a file, whoops, and fuzzy search things. So let's go to the app.tsx. And then, whoops. Huh, interesting. Let me do it again. There you go. I opened the file. So this is kind of like the power that I was looking into, is how can I integrate the terminal within VIM? And VIM is really good because it's really lightweight for doing this type of things. Before this, what I would typically do within a project is that I would see cd into the project and then code dot. And then boom, I got my VS Code here. That's great, right? And then I would have workplaces that I would like hop back and forth. I even forgot what command is it that does that. But you know, you can do fuzzy searching here as well. But that's what I used to do. So I wanted the same, you know, flow within my terminal, which was a lot faster to do for me. There you go. So let's go to a file so I can show you some commands within VIM. So let me see a big file. Not a big file, but that would do it. Okay, so this is what my VIM workflow looks like. I'm using a fork of VIM called NeoVim. Like I said, has great community support, but its core, it's VIM. You know, VIM doesn't change. It's just an extension of VIM. All the commands that I'm about to show you, they are applicable to any, you know, distribution of VIM that you might use. So let me turn on the key so you guys can see what keys I'm pressing. Keycast, there you go. Check that. There you go. And this might get a little bit annoying for myself. So let me see if I can move it. Nice, okay. I'll put it right there in the middle. Okay. All right. So as I'm pressing, you're gonna see the commands that I'm pressing my keyboard. So it makes it a little bit more visual. So we walk through basic navigation, J, K, and then if you want horizontal navigation, H and L. But it gets better than this. Let's say I want to go to the beginning of the line, like the beginning of the first character in the line. You can press underscore, and it goes right to the beginning of it. You can press $sign to go to the last character of that line. And this is really helpful because a lot of times I find myself having to edit, you know, things in the beginning of the line or at the end. And the cool thing, you are still in normal mode. So as VIM has this notion of modes, we are in normal mode. And then when you press colon, is command mode. As you can see here in the bottom of my screen, it says command. So in command mode, VIM has a set of commands, which is pretty large, and you don't have to memorize all of them. I usually look up cheat sheets online or like things that people do, and then VIM has actually a documentation within, which is really cool, is that you can press help, and then you can look up any tool in VIM. So for example, let's see, movement. And there we go. I have documentation about VIM movement, and I can read on it. I don't have to read to leave the terminal and go in the browser and read someone's post. You know, VIM has documentation right within, and I can look up a lot of neat things about it. You know, they're in the core of VIM. So it's pretty cool. There's also a help grep, which allows you to fuzzy search terms along all the docs, which is really cool. I can do, let's see, let's just find text. Oh, there's a lot of text iterations. Yeah, but anyways, yeah, it's very helpful. I use it and abuse it. Yeah, let's get back to the movements. So in the movements, how do I go about being efficient with VIM movements? There are two key commands that I really like. If I'm navigating vertically, I can do Control U to go up half of the page, and then Control D to go down half of the page. Now, this is a short file. If I was in a bigger file, I could, let me see if I can find a bigger file. There you go. This is a pretty big file. Yeah, this is actually the top. There you go. So Control D, I can go down half of the page, jumps half the page, Control U, jumps up the page. If I want to go to the beginning of the page, let's say I'm down here, and then I want to check out my imports all the way above, you know, you can go GG, and it goes all the way to the top. You can also do capital G, which goes all the way to the bottom. So VIM has this concept, a lot of movements are based on lower character does one thing, capital character does the reverse of that thing. And you're gonna find that a lot. So GG, go up, G down, go all the way down. Cool. So if I'm, you know, I'm in a JavaScript file, I have to change a couple of imports. This is a tiny file. Let me go to, I don't think I have a large JavaScript file in this project. Oh, there you go. You know, see, I'm down here, and GG, I'm right up top, and I can edit. But I'm yet not editing anything. I haven't walked through editing or what's called insert mode. So if you want to change files in VIM, you got to go into insert mode. Normal mode is purely navigation. Insert mode, as the name says, you're inserting and writing to the buffer. So how would I go about that? Well, if you press I, you're going to see on the left corner, it's going to change into insert. And then right here, I can type all I want. And this might be the most, oops, pressed wrong one. The most common mode that you're going to be is between normal and insert mode. So you press escape and you go back to normal mode. Now, one tip, the escape key is pretty far out from my pinky, typically. What I do, I swap my escape key with caps lock. I don't use screaming case a lot for like typing. I have a command that I built in Vim to kind of uppercase things for me. So yeah, I chose that trade-off. Most of the time, I'm not talking in screaming uppercase. So yeah. So I added it here in insert mode, and you can erase the same way, and then escape, goes back to normal mode. Now, there is a better way of doing this, because what I did for a while was I would go into insert mode, and then my cursor would go back where I wasn't intending to go. I usually want to go forward. So that really frustrated the heck out of me when I started learning Vim. So Vim has these commands that are really cool, is that they go from normal mode and jump to the cursor that you want to be, and it inserts you right into insert mode. You're ready to rock and roll and add your file. So how can one do this magic, right? There is the C command. So if I'm gonna undo this, and undo is U, the letter U. I just press U, and the undid all the changes. So let's say I'm here, in this file on line 21. I'm gonna add, a React to use state, for example. Let's say I had React here, and it's just a dumb example about it, but you get it. If I do C, and then I press a key like K, C stands for change. And what change is going to do, it's going to listen to a movement. You can either go up or down, or there's other movements I'm going to show, but you can either go up or down. And what's going to do, it's going to delete that line and then put you right into insert mode. So for example, I go to the top of the file here, and let's say I'm here in this line 6, and I do CK. It deleted the line above that I was, and it put me right into insert mode. I'm ready to rock and roll here, man. Like, it's super cool. When I learned the C command, I was using it everywhere. And another cool thing about the C command is that you can do that within words. So for example, let's say I want to change this variable name. Say I didn't like this variable name, posts. Posts of what, right? I can do C, W. And what W is in normal mode is word. And that's also a form of navigation, is that you can go www, and it walks by character words. So when you use CW, think about C change word. So it will change the word that you're from the beginning, input you into insert mode. So my posts, pretty cool. Now, a lot of times I'm in the middle of a word. A lot of times I'm not at the beginning of a word, so I can't do that. So usually my go-to is C, I for internal, and then W. And watch that. Pretty cool, huh? It changed the word that was within and put me into insert mode, which is really awesome, because in here I can just go and add it, right? Do my edit. Yeah, let's go through. Yeah, so there's very efficient ways to kind of like bounce between modes. And you can check out the cheat sheet that I posted. It has kind of like a summary of the talk and some of the commands that I outlined. You can also append. That's also one. A. If you're in normal mode and you're in the word, like this letter S, let's say I wanted to add another letter to it, I would say A, and then it goes forward one cursor and puts me into insert mode. Cool. Another one that I really like is, let's say I want to append to the end of the line. Like before, I showed you guys I can do $ and then underscore to kind of go beginning and end of line. But what I can do with A is capital A will put me at the end of the line and have me in insert mode, which is really cool because right now I can just go, new line and then, I don't know, insert a new component, for example. Cool. All right, let me go into deleting. I've been doing a lot of like deleting and editing outside without explaining. I apologize now, but it became so natural to my fingers. I don't think about these things. So yeah, bear with me. This is why I put the keys strokes in the window so you can kind of see what's being pressed. Deleting. The word delete, Vim has the key D for delete. So if you do D, and then what's gonna do, it's gonna listen for a movement, which is kind of like the C command. If you go K, it will delete the current line and the line above you. If you go DJ, it will delete the current line and the line below you. So as you can see, a lot of the Vim commands is combinations of basic core movements. And as you get familiar with them, you don't think about them, you kind of just do them. They become part of your flow. So that's the beauty about an editor like that, is because you're always learning. And quite honestly, it doesn't take that much time as I thought. Like I took probably about 2-3 months to really feel really comfortable with most of the core commands. And you don't have to memorize all of them because you're going to be doing a lot of these movements naturally within a couple of weeks, and you're going to feel great about it. But yeah, let me go into another. So another form of navigation is, like I had presented, W. You can navigate by word. If you press B, it goes back by word. But also, if you are in the beginning of a line, what you can do, you can find characters. And the find command for Vim in normal mode is F. So when you press F, Vim is listening for your next command. And your next command, it can be any letter or character per se. So let's say I want to go, I want to remove that semicolon at the end. I'm using standard JS. Standard JS does not allow semicolons per spec. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to remove that semicolon. And I can either do capital A and then just erase it, which is fine. But I want to go right into that semicolon and just delete it. So what I can do is say F semicolon. And there you go. My cursor is right there on the semicolon. And what can I do with that? Well, I can press X. And what X is going to do, it's a delete character, but still preserves you in normal mode. And it moves your cursor back because it does delete the character that was on. But yeah, pretty cool, right? Another thing that I do is, I'm still within that navigation, kind of like holding L and waiting, holding J. That's cool if you increase the speed of your keyboard and how it moves. That does help. I still find myself doing that, so I'm getting better at it, but there's better movements. In Vim, if you want to, let's say, I don't know this file too well, so I'm just going to search for a keyword. So what you can do is you can press /, and / is search. And in here, I can type, let me find that function that, caused the bug in the stack trace. Get all posts. Oh, okay, there's a get all posts on the import. If after you search, if you want to iterate through your search results, kind of like VS Code, you would do like Command Shift L, I believe, and it would iterate through all the matches. You press N for the next one, and then capital N for the previous one. Pretty cool. So if you search, press N, go to the jump to the next iteration, and then N again will go to the next iteration, and you can just cycle through it. But really handy for like finding things within a file, especially files that you're not as familiar. One second, let me turn the light here. All right. But yeah, you can search, and I do that a lot. You know, a lot of times I'm like looking at a file and I want to navigate to, let's say, you know, blog. So I'll go blog, and then just go, oh, okay, blog. I'm at blog, and I can change this. Very cool way to navigate vertically. Another way that you can navigate vertically in Vim is that if you press colon and you press a number, any number, it actually goes to the lines that you have displayed. So for example, let's say I want to go to line 21. I press colon 21, and then I'm there. I'm on line 21 already, and I can add it here. You know, let's say I want to delete this line, DD, delete the whole line. If I kind of just want to delete the content after the equal sign, I can just do capital D, and then deletes the current cursor and then after. Pretty cool. Let's go through some copying and pasting workflows. When I first started with Vim, I was pretty frustrated at like the clipboard and integration with the system clipboard, primarily in the VS Code, because there were some bugs with the Vim extension as far as how it manages clipboards. So yeah, it made me really frustrated. I gave up on Vim a couple times. I was first starting, and then got back to it, and then kind of like read a little bit about how Vim manages the clipboard. So I'm going to show you guys what the clipboard means in Vim. So if you're on a file, you know, the typical, I want to copy things, right? That's a pretty common part of my flow is copying things and pasting, right? So in Vim, what you can do, you can press Y for yank. So Y, I'm in yank mode, and then I can do Y again, and it copies the whole line. So, and the way you paste is the P. So there you go. I pressed YY and then P, and it copied the whole line below. If I do YI, YY, capital P, it copies the whole line above. So that whole concept of like, if you do something with the lowercase letter in Vim, the uppercase letter is going to be the reverse of that operation. So I can delete it, YYP, there you go, up above and below. Pretty cool. Now, Vim does not, by default, Vim does not use your clipboard system. And this was the part that frustrated me and got me confused a lot. So what Vim is a concept of registers. And registers, think about, it's kind of like I might mess this up. It is a stack. Last in, first in, last out, I believe. Well, I could be wrong. Anyways, it's kind of like a stack where like it will keep moving off. You keep popping things off the stack. And it saves actually a pretty good amount of your history of text editing and copy. So here you see here on my quotes, I have the posts, and posts, I actually deleted posts, but it saves it to the register. So you can always recover things. And that's kind of like Vim knows about how to undo things. It saves your history in the register. So this is Vim's clipboard. And one thing that helped me out was this setting that you can do in Vim, which is set clipboard equals unnamed, clipboard, I believe is unnamed plus And what it does, whoops, that is wrong, huh? Might have to look that up. Let's see. Help clipboard. Unnamed. Okay, I'm gonna go into my files and check out that mapping because of that setting. Oh, there you go, this setting. So I hop in here, I type column. I can actually run these sets and try out things. So clipboard, caret, unnamed equals unnamed, unnamed plus. Is that right? Let me just copy it. I'm messing this up live. There you go. Typical developer demo, right? Oops. There you go. So what that does, it actually will use your system's clipboard as the primary register whenever you yank or delete. So I have that currently turned off because sometimes I get confused what's copied into Vim, what's copied between my clipboard. But I remember it helped me out kind of like getting started and getting past that frustration between the Vim clipboard and then my system clipboard. So what that does, it will unify that. And you can find this command. I'll post a link to my dot file so you can check it out too. But yeah, so right now, if I delete this, I can go into insert mode and Command V. There you go. I have my line that I deleted. If I yank it, it's gonna be on my clipboard. So quick little hack to kind of like get you familiar with the clipboard. But yeah, let me I'm gonna source this. I'm not getting confused with that. There you go. So let's go into copying, pasting, and register visual mode. So we talked about normal mode, insert mode, command mode. There's another mode, which is called visual mode. And visual mode, as the name entails, is you visually select things. And this is kind of like the mode that you would go with a mouse and select it. But yeah, Vim has this concept as well. And it's really helpful with this mode because you can copy selections. A lot of times I do this. So I can have a visual representation of what's my intention, what am I trying to copy. And with visual mode, you can combine your movements. So for example, if let's say I'm in the top of the file and I want to select everything within that file, I can go Shift V, which selects the whole line. If you do just V, it will select the character and then you follow your navigation and you can exit with escape. But for this, I'm going to select this whole line. And then as we learned previously, capital G goes to the end of the file. And you can only imagine what it does. It will go to the end of the file and hold the selection for you. Look at that. Pretty cool, huh? So now I can do yank. And then I have, let's say I delete this, and Command V, yeah, it's right there. Yeah, pretty cool that you can do these kind of selections. I use capital V a lot, selecting lines. Sometimes I go and select by character, and when you're in visual mode, all your movements that you learned previously, they will work. Hop by word, go backwards, hop by end of word. I didn't talk about that one, but it's E for end. I use that one quite a lot, which allows you to hop by the end of the word. But yeah, visual mode is pretty cool. And you can do quite a lot with this. And I'll walk you guys through some cool things that you can do with in visual mode. So a good one is, let's say I'm here and I want to, for some odd reason, I want to convert this import into a const require, kind of like CommonJS. But just for demonstration, what I can do with visual mode is press Control V, which puts me in this vertical visual mode, which will select a block of text and follow. It's kind of like that whole multi-cursor approach that you gain from Sublime and Visual Studio Code. So Control V will get you doing this. And what you can do with this is, let's say I kind of want to just erase the imports, change the imports into const. So I can do CI, whoops, there you go. I can do, there you go. Erase that, raise the I, and then press escape. Oops, that didn't do it. Interesting. All right. There you go. I can erase the whole imports and write const, and then boom, const all over. Isn't that cool? But yeah, we can do these kind of things with this Control V, and then goes into this block visual mode, and Vim will just replicate the changes that you made. But there is more. In visual mode, you can actually pipe commands to it as well. So let's say if you have this selected, and for some reason, a lot of times I find myself, hey, I want to abstract this function, into a separate file. Let's say for some reason I had a function calculate, right? Takes a number A and B and returns it, right? But I want this in a separate file. What you can do with visual mode is you can select it, right? So Shift V, I went down, select that block. I can do colon, oops. I can do colon W. And what that's gonna do, you're in visual mode, but you're combining command mode with visual mode. And what that's gonna do, it's gonna allow you to write this selection to a file that's within the path that you're in. That was pretty mind-blowing when I first learned that. So I can do W and then calculate.js. Boom. You see at the bottom, calculate.js was written. If I go to, I press column E for editing. Vim has this command, editing, if you want to edit a file within your path. There you go. Calculate.js is right there. And what happened? There you go. My function calculate is there. And what I can do is export. There you go. Right there. A lot of times I find myself, oops. Go quit that. Got all these buffers. There you go. A lot of time I find myself working within functions, and then I'll add the export at the beginning and then select the whole thing and then write it to a file. You can probably find better ways to do this with plugins that will do extract function and all those refactoring techniques. But yeah, just Vim out of the box, you can do this kind of stuff, which is really cool, to me at least. But yeah, this is visual mode. There's quite a lot to it, and take it incrementally, learn as you go. It's the best approach to go about it. How are we doing on time? Okay, good. All right, so let me show you now my favorite thing about this editing experience within Vim. It's combining these movements to allow me to edit things and bounce between modes, makes it really efficient for like refactoring things quickly and just getting my job done quicker. So if I go to a file that had, let's say, I had a function. Let me grab something that's kind of like a large file. We'll search for. There you go. Let's say I want to grab the content inside these parentheses, and I want to pop into a different component. I don't think it belongs here. So what I would do, I can say V for visual mode, I for inside, And then as soon as I press I can either tell what kind of character do I go inside. Right now, I'm inside the parentheses. So Vim is going to know how to select things within those parentheses. That really blew my mind when I learned this command, this particular command, because I was like, whoa, I can select like things within a function, pipe it somewhere, where to a different file, and do that within like split seconds. It's great. So I just practiced that a lot. And you can replicate this with other commands. So for example, the change command, you can do CI parentheses, and what would change? It will delete the content within that parentheses and put you right into insert mode. I use and abuse this one because a lot of times you're changing arguments within a function. So if I go here, I can do CI parentheses, and let's say I don't want to name it props, I want to destructure. I don't know, foobar name, right? And I'm right there. That's great. Great for these kind of flows, especially for languages that leverage brackets and parentheses. Python, I'm sorry. I don't know what to do with indentation. I'm not a big fan of indentation-based languages, but that's just my opinion. But yeah, for you're coding C++, JavaScript, C#, anything that you kind of have a delineation between characters like brackets, curly braces, you can do this. So for example, if I had an array here, oops, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, I can delete the whole content within that array by doing CI square brackets. And the more you practice that, it becomes more natural. You can do the same thing, I believe, with markup. If you have like a div, I think you can do this with, I'm not going off script on this one. Yeah, you can do that with markup. So if you do, let's say you want to change a component, it's not a div, it might be a fragment. You can do CI and then carrots, and it will erase the whole thing and put you right into insert mode. And you can, name your markup. Let's say you want to say it's a React fragment, right? Then boom, you're right there. Very cool. So the CI combination commands are really my favorites about, and I use it and abuse it. I showed you guys about the commands that you can use to pipe things. And there is another thing about piping commands in Vim, which I thought it was really unique about this editor, is that I can actually run commands from the terminal. Vim has its own terminal shell embedded that you can tap into, and you can pipe the results of those commands into your text editor. I don't quite honestly use that one a lot, but I thought it was really clever. Let's say I want to call an API somewhere and I want the response down into my file so I can check out what's available, right? So what you can do is that, let's say I'm here in this file. Let me create a new buffer. Let me do that. So I'm going to create dude.json. So dude.json is a buffer, it's a JSON file. I'm going to call the JSON placeholder API and pipe the results of that call into my editor. So the way you can do that is you press colon and then bang, colon, read, R for read, and you can go into the read, I believe, yeah. Yeah. You go colon R, bang sign. And what's that bang sign means is that you can execute any shell command right there. So I'm gonna go curl JSON placeholder type code com to-dos. I'm gonna fetch a list of to-dos into this file and watch what happens. Boom. Oops, it copied that too. Okay, I can just delete that. But yeah, it's pretty cool, right? Like I can pipe commands in and out from the terminal and I'm still here in Vim. It feels great to be able to do that. But yeah, just a little Easter egg that you can do that. I'm sure, there are plugins that do better things like this. Like for example, one time I attempted to create a Vim plugin that would convert a JavaScript JSON object into a TypeScript definition. So I might butcher this, but I'll show you guys, just see if I can get this to work. So if I select, I pressed V and then %, will actually go to the closing bracket or closing character that you're in. That's pretty cool command that you can do, %. So V %, and then the plugin that I built, I'll show you guys what it's doing, but it's simply piping it to an npm package and then piping it back to Vim. There you go. So since it's in the JSON file, it's yelling at me, but it converted that JSON object into a TypeScript interface. And this is actually pretty simple. I'll show you guys what it is. TI. There you go. It's running npx JSON TS, and then it's piping to standard in. And since Vim knows what standard in is, it's gonna dump it in the editor, which is really cool. Now, I haven't made this publicly available because I couldn't get to work like 100%. So maybe one day I'll create something like that. But yeah, it's pretty cool. Commands, that's it for commands. Vim also has, like I had shown in the beginning, there's a file navigation embedded called netrw. It's within Vim, but I use a plugin to give me a little bit more like syntax sugar about it, called nerdtree. You can find a lot of plugins out there that do that, but yeah, Vim out of the box, if you press :EX, it goes into this explorer that you can navigate throughout your file system. You can search here, and you can navigate up and down. The Vim commands that you learned previously, they're still applicable. And this is really the great thing about Vim and how it was designed. It's like they have these core commands that if you master, you can do so much with just that. Like everything in Vim is related to these core movement commands and the core replacing and searching and all that. It's already all out of the box. People have come up with plugins, which Vim has its own language called Vim script. And people have come up with smart ways to do things more efficiently and with shortcuts and whatnot. And that's what you see on my right side. I have some remaps that I've built myself. And I'll put some links down on how to go about implementing these kind of things. But when I started, I was just concerned about learning the basics, learning the movements. What can I do with these movements? How can I implement within my workflow? And then I was like, okay, time to go full Vim. Let's see what I can do. Let me configure my environment. So I started learning about the plugin ecosystem, the VimRC, all the sets that you can do to configure this flow to have like line numbers. So for example, numbers, you can say no numbers. Oops, set no number, I believe. Yeah, like Vim doesn't come with numbers. There's a setting that you can enable called number. So it's set number. But yeah, all those sets out there, you'll find tons of configuration files with, settings that will help you. And I'll post my dot file so you can check out what I do. But yeah, Vim is awesome. There's also another concept in Vim of quick fix lists, which is kind of like how my biggest concern when I started was like, how do I do these like find and replace type of things? Like that's a pretty big flow in my VS Code experience. And it took me a little while to kind of like adapt to this, but I found a lot of value into it after. Is this concept of a quick fix list. So in Vim, you can I'll add files to this quick fix list. It's kind of like its own box that you can add buffers to it, and you can perform commands on that. So, for example, my init Vim. Actually, I'm not going to change anything here because I might mess up my config. So let me just quit this. There we go. I can do QA and then bang, it would just quit all the buffers for you. if you get annoyed of quitting a lot of things. But yeah, let me go to a file. Let's go to package.json. I'm going to do a search to, let me see, all the TS files. It might be a lot. We do .tsx. For some odd reason, I want to change imports to cons. Let's do like a find and replace like that. So what I can do, I will pipe these things to a quick fix list I use a plugin called Telescope that allows you to go into Vim's quick fix list and send files to. It's kind of like the VS Code, you search for, iterations of a word or regex, and it pops up a list of files that it found. And then right there, you can do that global find and replace if you choose so. In Vim, it has this notion of quick fix lists, and you can navigate them. So for example, you see here, it opened up a little split that I can go in and check out all the files that it found, iterations of TSX, for example. Oh, actually, all the files there are TSX. But yeah. So let me do this. Let me see if I can get a different, less files there. Document. My document. Let me see if I can do a find, grep document. There you go. I have a quick fix list of all the iterations of document. What I'm going to do, I'm going to change all these documents to lowercase documents, for example. I can do column, cdo for change do. C stands for the quick fix list. I don't know why in Vim, but when you're in command mode, cdo will actually change. We'll run a command and change everything in your quick fix list. So you can do S and then /. This is kind of like the sed approach in Linux to replacing things. So I'm going to say document, replace with document. And then press enter. And then boom. Oh, wow. I changed everything to document. Lowercase document. Let me see. Let's see if it changed. So go document, 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 document. There you go. Not that I really want to do this, but yeah, just an example. Yeah. And as you can see, I didn't save it. So I just pressed Q, bang, and it didn't save that. Yeah. So it was a change that I didn't intend to do just for demonstrations. Vim won't save it. I don't want to shoot myself in the foot with a change that I don't intend to do. But yeah, let's go into 820. Okay, so just for the sake of the time being, I'm going to show you guys how did I accomplish this, VS Code like development environment. And what you can do is you can configure Vim to do this. And let me hop into, let's see, a pretty bare bones Vim environment. So let's go to this file. There you go. So my config is not running here. It's just bare bones Vim. Just out of the box, you can do set and then number, and then the numbers will show up. Let's say you want a color scheme. You can do color scheme, and you can tab it. It will autocomplete the commands that are intended to do. And you can tab again and look up what's available. Let's try this desert color scheme. Nope, not for JSON files. Let me see if there's a JS one. .js. Oops, a lot of files here. Vim source pages about. There you go. There's a TSX file here. And color scheme, desert. I wonder if it'll give me some. Oh, interesting. If I go to, let me show you new Vim, because like I have my configuration file already. So I'm gonna clean up my environment. So it's just what's out of the box in Vim. And I'm gonna let's go to this sh file. So just out of the box, kind of like this. I can go color scheme and then dark plus. That's the one I want. So this is a color scheme that you can install, and I'll show you guys what Vim plugins look like and how you can get them installed. So let me quit this. I'm gonna set up my environment again. Go to my init Vim. So NeoVim is the home kind of configuration file. It's called the init Vim file. If you're coming from a Vim background, that's your vimrc. NeoVim just names it differently, but these are kind of like how we install plugins. And plugins are simple open source repositories on GitHub of really nice folks that are out there to share their knowledge and make your workflow better. So you install it by saying plug, and then, for example, the color scheme that I got going on, it's the dark plus. It came from this plugin called Lunar Vim Color Schemes, and I'll pop a link of some useful resources for like finding all these things. But yeah, so Lunar Vim Color Scheme, it will install. So if I blow this away for now, just delete it. I might get a couple errors because I might be using some of these plugins. Do that and then Vim. And do plug, and then Lunar Vim color schemes. And you save it. You do so source. Vim has this concept of sourcing files in order to kind of like inject the configuration. There's ways to make this automatically. So like when you save, it will source the configuration and change automatically for you. I don't have that on for myself. I usually source it manually, but maybe I should do something else about it. But yeah, and then here you go plug install. And then Vim plug, which is a plugin for Vim, will handle all your installation for you and get these guys installed for you. Pretty cool. But yeah, so what I recommend is there's a lot, and it feels like I'm spitting out a lot of things about it, but it's mainly for the purpose of like, this is what you can do with it. What can Vim do for your developer experience, your editing experience? You can take a couple things about it. You can take it fully and try to make your own environment. It can really improve the way that you develop, and not just JavaScript. Any language out there pretty much that you can edit any file. I used Vim to edit 99% of things in my day, and I find myself lost at times when I have to use regular key bindings, but that's okay. That's just I got so used to it. But yeah, just for the sake of time, let me do a time check. There's a couple questions in the chat, and I'd like to get to them. But yeah, so didn't know about FD. Nice, I'll check it out. Yep, nice team. And Vim for the win. Oh yeah. See Telescope, do you use NeoVim's LSP or the COC plugin? Yeah, so that question came in. I used the NeoVim LSP. So NeoVim and their community have built a language server that is a native plug into NeoVim. Like you still haven't installed it, but it's maintained by the core contributors. And it's really fast. For those who don't know, COC stands for Conquer Off Completion. It was a plugin made by this gentleman. I'm gonna butcher his name, so I'm just gonna pull it up. Neoclide COC. Whoops. There you go. Oh, I'm sharing my full screen, so I can really. Let me go to the next one. There you go. Let me grab that. There you go. This plugin, this is COC. I used that first, by the way. That was the first auto completion, linting, all that stuff out of the box. That was the plugin I used. But as time progressed and I found better ways to do things, I found the LSP and I learned how to configure it. I can show that to you guys on what that looks like. for those on the stream that do use NeoVim, it's gonna look. Yeah, so this is my LSP, and a lot of that, like, I didn't come up with this myself. I looked it up, what people have done, and kind of like follow what they did, configure. This is a language that is supported within NeoVim called Lua. It is highly used in the gaming industry. It's pretty cool, very simple. You can learn Lua within an hour. It gets the job done in simple ways. I love it. But yeah, you can use Lua to set up your whole NeoVim config. Right now, I have kind of like this funny mix of Vim script and Lua in my configuration, which I'm working to migrate it to use Lua, but that's a working process. But yeah, NeoVim LSP for the win. Looks like the LSP after, yeah, your config. There you go. Yep. But yeah, any other questions, people on the stream? Cool. Let me go into the last piece of the stock that I'd like to emphasize is productivity tools. And why I want to mention this is after showing you guys what Vim could do for you, why you can kind of learn and increment and learn incrementally. There are other tools that the knowledge that you learn in Vim, it can transfer to you. And it's a pretty simple swap. Like you still maintain that same knowledge. So for example, in my browser, I have a Vim plugin in the browser that allows me to navigate using Vim. Why would I do that? Well, I like being able to keep my hands on the keyboard. And if I press F, I can go and click on things, go back, capital H. So most of the Vim bindings stay the same. And I like that. And there are a lot of tools out there that allow you to do that. So for example, I use a tool called Run.js, which is like a JavaScript REPL for like sandboxing a lot. You know, kind of getting your ideas out about, let's say, trying to come up with a function that parses some JSON. So I use Vim here. Like all the bindings are the same that I learned in my local editing experience. They're still the same here. I might not have all my plugins and all the extensions that I use, but the core Vim movements, which are really the biggest selling points of Vim, they are here. Excuse me. Another tool that I use is for note-taking called Obsidian. It's pretty cool. I love it. I know a lot of folks use Notion, but the reason why I pick Obsidian is that I can save my notes in disk and sync up to GitHub. And the biggest selling point for me is Vim. You know, I have Vim bindings integrated into here, and it's a pretty pleasant flow for me. So yeah, it transfers. Another tool that I use for productivity is, like I was showing those commands to you guys, is that I use a tool called FZF. Oops, FZF. That allows me to fuzzy search through any list pretty much typed. So if I ls, you know, I have a number of files and I say pipe to FZF, FZF will allow me to fuzzy search these things. And then I'll put that command. And you can only imagine what you can do with FZF. Primarily what I do with FZF is to integrate with my navigation flow. So let's say if I'm in a root of a document and I want to go into a Vim buffer using that FZF, I can just do FA and it will list all my files, every single file within the directory. And I can go icons.lua, boom. I'm in my Vim editing experience really quick. I love doing that. And I do that a lot of work. So for example, I have an alias that goes into my dev projects and iterates through the directories. And I can go, oh, my blog, cool, I'm there, great. I'm in the root directory of my blog. I can, let's say I want to go to some open source library that I support. I think I have here on the, let's go to personal. Okay, then I have this library. there you go. I'm navigating there pretty quick. Let's say I want to, I'm buried within a file and I want to go back to my root folder. I have a command that does go to the root, directly to the root. Doesn't matter how many steps deep I am in the directory, I can do that. So the integration between, Shell and Vim, it's like a match made in heaven. Like you can do so much just between those two, and it really helps. Another thing within Vim that I like doing is a lot of times I'm editing a file. So for example, main.ts, and I need to run tests, run unit tests. So I use a tool called Tmux that gives me this, allow me to split things in my terminal and do multi-terminal windows. I don't use the typical GUIs like tabs and like new files, all that. I used to use it with iTerm, but Tmux just allows me to do that more in a cross-platform way, and it's very quick. So with Tmux, what I can do is a lot of times I want to run tests, change a file, run tests. So I have a mapping, oops. There you go. Things always go wrong whenever you're doing a demo. Oh, that's why. Okay, let me, this is what I got for editing my dot files. There you go. Plug install, show you guys in a minute, bear with me. Okay, go to personal, wt-diff. Let me go to the main.ts. I'm gonna close this guy here. And now I'm gonna go leader, VP. My leader key is space. I use that to trigger shortcuts and remaps that I built in Vim. And now I can pipe a command. And what I can do is say yarn test. Okay, and when I do that, it's gonna split my terminal into a test that I can run. Oh, great. What did I mess up here now? There you go. Anyways, you guys get the, but yeah, it's really cool. You can do a lot with just try to be productive with you between your Unix shell and Vim. And that really made me change the way I develop for the better. Again, this was incrementally done, and I'll post links on it that I have on my notes about all this, how to go about learning. There's a lot of very good YouTubers out there and Discord channels. I know on NashDev, we have the Vim channel there. I'm part of it. There's some really nice folks there, and really all vets that have been doing Vim for so many years. Like they really know it much better than I do. I always get answers and suggestions about best ways to do things. So yeah, definitely a community effort. It is a really good learning experience for anyone trying to become more productive. But yeah, I hope I really provided value to you guys and you feel inspired to do this or not, or just do what you're doing. That's completely fine. But yeah, I really appreciate the opportunity given here by the fine folks at NashDev, and thank you, Daniel, and Will is not here, but yeah, appreciate the chance that you guys gave me to give this talk.
Well, thanks so much, Wes. It was awesome. A great talk. I guess I don't see any more questions in the chat. I think you've covered everything. Cool.
Yeah.
Well, thank you guys. Thank you for joining. Did you want to plug your company's hiring real quick?
Oh yeah, I almost forgot. So by the way, we're hiring at Bambi. I work at a company based out in LA that we support small to medium-sized businesses with all their HR needs. We're developing some really cool things in the JavaScript ecosystem if you're a JavaScript developer primarily. So yeah, reach out to me. We got a couple of full stack and backend roles, working in microservices, modern stack on AWS. So if you're interested, reach out to your homie here. I'll hook you up.
Awesome. Thanks so much, guys.